All right. So sabi dito, no, um, it a mission statement should have the purpose, okay, organization's purpose, what it will do, why, and who will be served. Diba? So balikan natin yung mission statement natin. Is it all giving us those information? Ano, mukhang ano naman, no? Mukhang nandun naman siya. Okay. So a mission is basically answering this question. Why does your organization exist? And what is the purpose of it in the world? Ulitin ko, why does your organization exist? And what is its purpose in the world? Yan. But I'm gonna give you some samples that are really relevant or some of the names that you already know. Okay, so you have McDonald's to be our customers' favorite place and way to eat and drink. Diba? IKEA. You guys know IKEA? Nakapunta na tayo sa IKEA. Simple. To create better everyday life for many people. Diba? Ang ganda. TED. TED Talks. You know TED? May nakikinig ba ng mga TED Talks sa inyo? So, pagtapos nito, punta kayo sa TED Talks. So, sa YouTube, hanapin nyo lang TED Talks or TED on strategic thinking, strategic planning, strategic management. They talk about it. It's like a platform of sharing like this. Ang simple ng mission statement. Spread ideas. That's a statement. Next, Nike. Sinabi ito ni Jelix. Tama, di ba? To bring inspiration and innovation to every athlete in the world. If you have a body, you're an athlete. And PSB, to become the leading provider of rugged technology cases and accessories for classroom and enterprise environments. Now, I want you to take a look at these mission statements, the one that you research, and take a look at yours. Can you share to me what's the difference? Can you share to me how you can, by comparison, again, by comparison, on the form, on the way it's written, how do you think our own mission statement can be better? Yes, Ron, go ahead.
Ito kasi sir, maiksi lang siya, direct to the point. Sabihin, direct yung kanyang, kung ano talaga yung mission nila. Wala nang kumbaga parang pasikot-sikot pa.
No other unnecessary words included in the statement.
Direct to the point talaga.
Ang sabi nga namin, you have to revisit your mission statement every 3 to 5 years because anything less than 3 years can be very tactical in nature or very transactional. And anything way past 5 years, kapag kaya mission statement mo, hindi mo pa na-revisit, and after 5 years, napaglipasan na ng panahon yan. Kasi there are a lot of ambiguity in the market, maraming changes na nangyayari. At sa limang taon na yan, kailangan kasabay tayo sa pagbabago. 'Di ba? So it can be revolving. Hindi yung ang thinking kasi natin kapag sinabing mission vision statement, it's cast in the stone. Ito yung magmula umpisa nung tinayo, hindi ganoon. Hindi siya something na hindi nababago. Dapat nga nagbabago siya. 'Di ba? Dapat nagre-revolve siya around sa business mo kasi dati may mga pagkakataon na may mga businesses ang organization natin na hindi na siya effective ngayon. Dati kasama siya sa mission statement mo, ngayon hindi na. Di ba? May mga pagkakataon na yung core values natin, dati ito yung isa sa mga non-negotiables natin. Unfortunately, hindi naman siya pala kailangan, hindi siya nag-work. So ngayon, hindi na siya kailangan sa mga non-negotiables natin. So it has to revolve.
And it has,
well, hindi lang naman yung uso, Ron, no? Kailangan sabay sa panahon. It has to go with the time. The time right now has changed. We are all coming out from that pandemic situation, or if not, we have already came out of it. It's different. People now are functioning differently. You are functioning differently now than you are functioning 20 years ago, Mon, right? 20 years ago, Ron. 10 years ago, James and Shelix. It's different. And we have to find a way to adapt to those situations where change is present. And that should reflect our statement. Sabi ni Selena kanina, we are going global. If you are going global, then what is the initiative from the global office? That's the first question. So when I mentioned the statement to you, the mission statement in your website, you were caught off guard, right? Because you didn't know that. And what's the answer? That's the global website. Exactly. Why is the global mission statement very clear? And why is ours different? Those are just theoretical questions. You can answer it in your head. And maybe you talk to your, when you go back to the desk later to work, when you have a chat with your manager, ask them, you know this. Can you give me more idea why it's different from what I have on my ID and what we have on the website? There might be answers, there might be not, but the question here is that how do you find it for yourself? And I think it's relevant, diba? It's relevant that we know that answer. Bakit ba different? May answer kanina si Selena, it may be that because we are changing everything right now or it had already changed, but it has not been communicated to us yet. Kasi ako, ang sinerge ko right away when I asked this, but when I was not provided of the information, I did my research. So that's what I find out. That's what I found out. Okay. Yes, the mission statement can be revisited. I think the content of it is very amazing. It's good. It speaks who you are as an organization. But maybe in the next couple of years, you might want to go a little bit on the on that phase where your global office is already doing that. It's clearer, it's simpler, it's more impactful. It connects better. Tama? Yan. Sige, anyone else other than who would like to read on what vision statements are? Sige. Ron, are you preparing to read?
Like,
Sige, Ron, go
vision.
ahead.
A vision statement helps the organization relate to the impact it will have if it succeeds in achieving its potential.
Ayan. So sabi natin, if the mission is our purpose and if we're fulfilling that purpose, at some point, we consider ourselves successful. 'Di ba? Kapag nagawa natin yung mission natin, successful tayo. Itong vision, it gives us an idea of what does the company look like once we were able to achieve the mission. Kapag na-achieve na natin yung goals natin, 'di ba? Where we are going to be. What do we want to achieve? What do we want the organization to look like at some point in the future? Kaya nga, vision has to also change. Kasi paano kung sinet mo yan 10 years ago and achieve mo naman yung vision na yon in 3 years time? Eh di wala na. Ibang-iba na yung vision mo, di ba? Tama ba? Do you see where it's coming from? So mission and vision statements go hand in hand. The mission is where you're going to compete, what's the purpose, and once you're able to complete the mission, the vision comes in. It's the picture of what we look like if we're successful. You see the connection? You see how you're supposed to present it in your team and to yourself? Ah, ganun pala yun. That's how it's supposed to connect. Yes. So come and ask your leaders. When was the last time that you actually sat in a strategic plan and talk about the vision of the organization? I'm not sure if you're able to talk or openly talk about that with your leaders, but that is a good question when you do your one-on-one coaching with them. It's a simple question that will trigger their critical thinking and strategic management. Because that's the first thing that they will ask you, why would you like to know? Right? Very strategic learnings for today. Or sige. Um, Di pa tayo tapos, no? Gusto ko lang ma-pick yung brains mo. Later, iba yung tatanungin ko tayo. Punta tayo sa core values. Kapag ba sinabi ko sa yung core values, ikaw as a person, tatanungin kita, no? What are your core values as a person? Diba? So, maraming sabi sa inyo kanina, service. I think these are all the ones that you answered, diba? Compliance, safety, quality customers. But ikaw, as a person, what do you think are your core values and why do you think it's important for you to have core values? Sige, anyone who would like to read what's on the slide? Yeah,
Okay,
don't be shy. Go ahead, Ron.
core values. Core values are a set of fundamental beliefs, ideals, or practices that inform how you conduct your life, both personally and professionally. This can help an organization determine how to allocate resources, make important decisions, and grow.
Ayan. Thank you very much, Ron. So again, your core values are how you want your team to live by, diba? Or how you want, if you talk about the strategic planning core values, this is how you want the organization to live by. These are what you call the non-negotiables. How do you want people in your organization behaving, especially when the boss are not around, diba? What are the lenses that you are going through as you try to make or evaluate decisions? When we are trying to do performance management, ang ending ng ang ending ng strategic plan, guys, papaalala ko sa inyo, is KPIs and performance management. Pero syempre wala tayong time to actually do that. But this is all tied kasi the goals are set for KPIs and ano ba yung uli? The performance
Performance man.
evaluation. Performance management evaluation. So sa atin, ginagawa natin every 6 months, tama? Every 6 months. So
Yes.
mid-year, end year. Ibig sabihin nun, we are doing all of this goals or we're trying to achieve all of these goals, yung guiding core values natin, hindi siya pwedeng mawala habang ginagawa natin yung mga goals na yun. This is how we behave in the workplace. So these are all things that you can choose from. Di ba? Sige, basahin nyo nga sa ikaw, personally, personal core values. Sige, based on here. Ang napansin ko, parang yung core values nyo, corporate core values nyo is more geared towards transactional more than the personal level of core values, no? So
Oo,
I'm
sir.
not
Sa
sure.
business po siya,
Oo, I'm not
usually.
sure. So I'm not sure. Kasi kapag when we do strategic planning and we ask our leaders to do and formulate core values, kailangan talaga nagto-touch on personal ano personal side kasi yung mga transactional na list na 'to, it's easy to achieve, eh, 'di ba? Safety is process, quality is hindi siya relatable kasi kunyari like there's always compromising quality sometimes, productivity, ganyan. But when you talk about core values and you talk about trust, you cannot function without trust. Parang it's a non-negotiable. 'Di ba? Integrity. There is no way that you are going to be part of my team if you don't have integrity. Those are the non-negotiables. Kasi some of the things that I can see on your corporate core values are a little bit negotiable, 'di ba? If you talk about it, efficiency is very dependent. How do you define efficiency is dependent, 'di ba? But how do you define trust is universal. It's simple. You have to have trust. Huh? So if you are going to ask my expert opinion, I think there needs to be a review on your corporate core values. Unless that these list or yung list na meron tayo ngayon na binigay nyo are not really the core values. So maybe that's a good assignment for everybody is to find out really what are our core values or what our non-negotiables in terms of our values in the organization. Then, ayan. When you're already talking about the strategic um, mindset, you first talk about the environment. What we normally would ask people to to consider is that how do we avoid major strategic planning risk, diba? Because that's the first thing. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of energy. Okay, so we always want people to consider risk. In a high resource type of exercise like strategic planning, unfortunately, many times the process can be very, very painful. Diba? And the worst thing that can happen in a strategic plan is everybody puts in all its effort. It gets signed off. It gets decided. Everybody agrees. And then once it's done, it's passed over. It's received as a document, put in a shelf. Nobody reads. Gets ya? A risk. That that's something that we were trying to avoid when you're talking about strategic planning kasi it happens all the time, 'di ba? Yung plano, ang daming napag-usapan, ang daming pinag-agreehan, ang daming napagdiskusyonan. But at the end of it all, when it gets signed off and it's already passed on to our team members, it gets archived and nobody even visits it again. Because I'm gonna ask you, when was the last time that you saw it? When was the last time that you sat in with your manager and reviewed it? When was the last time that you actually pull out information from your strategic plan and talk to your team about it? Totoo, di ba? That's a risk. Now, there are warning signs that you can look for to determine if your strategic planning process is flawed. Kung magkakaroon ba ng ganung pagkakataon. And the first initiative is to talk about prolification. Okay? Initiative and prolification. Do you have to use multiple pages just to add up all the different initiatives in your thinking on what you're gonna pursue? Diba? It's trying to have that basic idea on what would work in the shortest statement. Kasi umpisa mo sa mission statement mo eh. And a vision statement mo. Diba? You have to be very concrete and you have to have that initiative to proliferate everything that is in your head. Remember guys, when they're doing strategic planning, lahat ng to, maraming ideas. Lahat to magaling. 'Di ba? Lahat to magaling, maraming ideas, maraming experience. They have everything that it takes to put together a good plan. But the question is here, how do you make it simple and proliferate? To initiate that proliferation. Second, when you're talking about risk, you're thinking too small. And all initiatives that are on your list has to be very small, or it has to be small because it has to be an incremental part of improvement of your business. Diba? But if it's too small, it doesn't make sense anymore. Then it can sound like it's achievable in a day or two, and then ilagay mo sa strategic plan mo. That's way thinking too small. All right? There are instances that we always challenge leaders, lalo na if some of them are just trying to be more safe. You know, when you're setting up your strategic plan, some leaders have the tendency to be safe rather than um, initiating that kind of strategy or that kind of plan that would encourage people to be more um, incremental improvements in your business and don't really advance your strategic goals. So question here is that it's really putting forward the advancement. And if there is thinking too small, there's the risk of thinking too big naman. 'Di ba? All initiatives are huge. 'Di ba? Malaki. As in, everything has to line up perfectly. It has to have that large bet. Um, very idealistic. Very sometimes impossible. Pero sabi nga ni Adidas, impossible is nothing. So, but there are some organizations that have large profitable business units that take a lot of time to achieve that particular goal. Sometimes hindi siya achievable in a year because it's too big of a goal, you know? So again, I think leaders, they have to be more realistic when it comes to how long does it have to take. And lastly, what I want to call is random initiative generator. Now you look at all of your initiatives as if they're all really great, but when you try to figure out there what's sino yung gagawa, ano yung dapat gawin talaga, wala kang clear directions. Alam mo yon? Because instantly you just keep on producing. and writing it down and doing it or making other people doing kasi really wala ka namang vision about that particular goal, 'di ba? Oh, natatawa si Mon parang mukhang may experience ka diyan, no, Mon? Ang tawag ko sa kanila ay random initiative generator. All right. Now I've worked really with a lot of leaders in terms of strategic planning, and here's something that I would like to share to you. It happens all the time. Lahat ng 'to nakakita niyo, lahat ng risk na 'to, marami 'to, mga personality kasi 'to eh. Yung mga nag-i-initiative ng clarification, thinking too small. And our goal, when sabi nga namin, when you're doing your strategic plan, you just really have to think about what can be achieved and what are the improvements that you would like to set forward to. At the end of the day, 'di ba, you work strategically of what the corporate or what the bosses are telling you. Kasi ganito 'yan 'no, hindi kasama ang mga C-level, ang CEO, CMO sa strategic planning ideally. Kailangan yung mga one-downs na nila kasi sila yung magpro-propose dito sa mga ultimate leaders na 'to. Kung kasama man sila, they are observing, going around the room, eto, they are going around the room challenging everybody to think, and to think, 'di ba? Kasi they cannot be biased. Kasi nga sila na nga yung nandun sa top eh. Kasi at the end of it, 'di ba, you have the CEO who's gonna say, okay, that's okay for me. That's gonna achieve the goals they set for your team. The CFO is going to say, okay, sige, kaya ko yan. May budget ako para dyan. 'Di ba? And the CEO would say, okay, sige, kaya ko yan. May tao tayo para dyan. 'Di ba? They are the ones who's actually sitting in and saying like, okay, let's do this, let's do this. But if they want to be present during the strategic planning, and which we say like, they have to go around the room and just challenge everybody. Okay, what about this? Ask difficult questions, ask challenging questions, ask questions that would make people remove this risk. These questions of risk. Is it too small? Is it too big? Will you have the tendency to become a random generator of initiatives? Because this is what you're doing.